You are listening to the CAD Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CAD Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the CAD Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim Coppinger, the technical dork who likes all things software related, and with me today
is Rocco Parisi, and I'm glad that this is recorded because he just says he's a technical dork.
Well, it's better than the kind of dork you normally call me, so I'll go with technical dork. At least that one I can pawn off as knowing something, you know? So, all right. So today we're going to be talking about whether or not you should customize your CAD system or use out-of-the-box, OOTB, right? The direct out-of-the-box, simple installation when you do the original install of whatever CAD system you're working on. All right. So it seems like a pretty safe topic, right? I mean, you know, when it comes to dealing with CAD systems, you know, the ability to customize them to your own specific needs, right? To, you know, make it do what you want, add all kinds of programming and code, and really put in a huge amount of customization so you get exactly what you need, the way you need it, when you need it. And they've touted that. All of the major CAD packages have touted that for decades as one of the huge benefits of their systems. And I guess the question is really, is that actually a benefit? Or is that actually a time and money suck? And that's what we're going to talk about today. You know, when you get into dealing with customizations, it usually encounters coding. It requires, you know, time and effort to get it put in place. You got to get a whole bunch of people involved in order to decide, you know, what it should do, how it should do it, what process it should go through. And the big thing with that is whenever you're dealing with customizations, whether it's to a CAD system or really in reality, I mean, what we're talking about here today can be adapted to any software. It's not just CAD related. We're the CAD call. I still love saying that. So we talk about things related to CAD a lot. But really it applies to any of the software, whether it's the ones that we support or anything else. When you're dealing with customization, you're kind of tying yourself to continual upgrades. You always have to go in each time there's a new release of the software or something changes or a process updates. You have to go back to square one and work your way back through that customization. So while on the surface could seem as a really beneficial plus to you to be able to build things, you know, and have things automate the way you want them to, you're tying yourself to a perpetual loop of updates, and that's something that you really want to consider. On the other side, we have OOTB, the out of the box, right? I don't know, how do we pronounce that acronym? We call it OOTB.
That sounds good.
Yeah, we'll call it OOTB. We're going to coin a new phrase here today, you and me, Rocco. It's OOTB. OOTB CAD systems, right? Out of the box. They have a benefit in that they're simple, right? You know, you're putting in the standard installation package right onto everybody's system, and what you get from that, if you don't customize it, right, is that you're getting a standard for everyone in your company. All right, and that reduces the potential for errors. It reduces support time, learning curves, and every time you do an upgrade or a reset to the system, right, patches or whatever you have to do, which in this day and age we all know that's constant, you don't have to go back through and go through that cycle of customization again. So, you know, there's that big benefit of, you know, when people get into customizations, they can become real dependent on them. And anything that goes wrong in the CAD system, the very first place you have to start looking is at your customizations. Are they conflicting with the out-of-the-box or OOTB system that we've installed? Okay. Now, one of the things, though, that I do want to point out here is that there is and we're going to talk a lot about this in today's podcast, there's a big, see, I stressed that 3 times just so that they know it was really big.
You said big.
I said big, just in case you weren't listening, Rocco. I know I put you to sleep when I talk. So there's a big difference between customization and configuration. And we are massive fans of configuration. We do a lot of configuration, and we really are not big fans of customization. So here's what I'm going to ask my brilliant partner here. So Rocco, like I said, you're the guy who's always talking with the customers. You're working with the customers, and a lot of customers call, all right, and they want to talk to us about customizing their CAD system, or even Bluebeam or Microsoft, any of the systems that they have in place, whether they're working with Teams or whatever they have going on. And when they call, we almost always recommend against customization, which seems, for a support and consulting firm like us, you'd think we'd be all about it. But we really push them heavily towards configuration as opposed to customization. And since you're the point lead on most of those calls, do the clients understand and appreciate the difference between those two? Can they tell, or do we have to explain it?
No, I think we definitely have to explain it. It all depends on the user. I mean, who we're speaking with, right? A lot of times we get people that are more at the admin end, who really don't understand software enough. We're just trying to collect information, trying to get a better understanding for what we're doing or what we can do for them. But then you have your real advanced technical people who do understand the difference. So it runs the gamut.
Right. And I will say that, Rocco and I have been working together for a very long time, too long as far as he's concerned. And when we first started working together, one of the things that used to make him absolutely crazy as the senior sales guy when we started working together was that I would get on phones with people all the time, and they would be asking us about these big customization projects, and I would do everything I could to talk them out of it. And he'd be like, "What, are you crazy? That's money. That's a project." But together, as over the years working, we have found that it really does work to the benefit of the client. And in the end, even though it seems like we're turning away work, all right, that we could be doing, it benefits the client. And I think in the long term, most everybody really appreciates that we're honest, we're direct with them, and say, look, there are better ways, cheaper ways, faster and more consistent ways through customization to kind of get the effect you're looking for. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's really get into it, right? What is really the big difference between customizing and configuring? Okay, so customization, you're usually talking about some kind of a developed tool, right? A tool or a process that are specific to your company or your specific workflows, and those customizations usually exist outside the standard software. Okay, so that means that these are processes that aren't inherent into the software that you're installing and working with on a daily basis. So these are things that need to be constantly updated. You have to train your people on them. Right? You have to make patches and make changes to it with every new release of the software for compatibility. Right? There's a lot that goes into that, like I said earlier, in terms of development and processing and testing and verification and retesting. There's a lot of commitment in there. There's usually a lot of money up front, and there can be benefits to it, right? And you'll constantly hear people saying, hey, customization, we can save a lot of time and a lot of productivity by automating processes. And sometimes you can, but you really do need to have an extremely detailed process that is going to save you a ton of money through automation before you can really start to see any kind of return on investment on a customization job. Now, configuration, on the other hand, right? And this is, like I said, this is where we move away from the out-of-the-box install, right? Where we're talking about configuration. And really, that's optimizing and streamlining the standard process of the software itself, right? So that you can work as efficiently as possible. And in the CAD world, that means setting up templates. It means setting up layering standards, text styles. It means configuring, standard plotting techniques and procedures. Right? These are things that you're not developing any custom tools. You're using the built-in tools of that software system to make your user's job faster and easier. Right? And the benefit here is that configuration processes don't change. Okay? Or very, very rarely change. I can't say never. Sometimes they will, but they usually endure past system upgrades and updates, right? And the other benefit here is that they're skills, right? Configuration structures and the way that things are built when you're working with standard out-of-the-box software and not customizing it, those are skills and processes that your people can carry with them as they move from office to office, job to job as they get promoted, right? Whereas a lot of times, customize specific routines and programs. Those are very, very job specific. Okay, so I think configuration is a much broader benefit there, right? And I think I just see, like I said, I'm the technical dork, as Rocco likes to laugh at me for, and I think that configuration is something that's really very often overlooked or underutilized in the design world, all right, and also in the manufacturing space. I mean, there are just a lot of companies out there, right, who give people the out-of-the-box software. The IT guy comes in, he installs a CAD system, and they say, okay, use that. Just use it. Figure it out. Right? And then those companies become really, really frustrated and disenchanted with the software that they have, thinking that it doesn't work, that it's problematic, they can't make it do what they want. Right? And that ROI isn't there because two reasons. Number one, you didn't configure it to make it more user-friendly. And number two, you probably didn't train your people on how to use that. Okay? Because the thing that you need to understand, and this is true of every software, not just CAD system, doesn't matter what software is. Pretty much every software that you install, when it comes right out of the box, you just do the installation, you install it on your system. They always have, templates and standards and settings and all the different controls that you need, right? And people just say, okay, look, we've got 1,000 different templates already installed with the software. Why would I waste time configuring and setting up new ones? And here's what you have to understand, regardless of whether it's a CAD system or a BIM system or anything else, estimating systems, all of them. Templates and structures and settings that are installed by the software package are not meant for real world use. I stress that again. You're not supposed to use those. They're really there. They're provided as examples. They're there to show you what the software can do, right, without customization. They're to show you examples of configuration options that you can go in and say, oh, that little piece is cool, this is meaningless, we're never going to use that, but these two things are great. Then you can use those those configuration options to have the system work the way that you need it to work. Right? So that's really the biggest mistake I think that people make. So Rocco, when you're dealing with customers, right? And again, you're the guy talking to them. Do we see a lot of customers who are struggling with systems that have just been dropped on them with no configuration, no training? Is that still an issue in modern firms, or is that something that's gone away?
It's a mixed bag. Yeah, I really think that it's mixed. I mean, you also have the factor that people are so darn busy, so there's not a lot of time to go into detailed customization. People just need to produce, and I guess that's definitely a big factor.
Yeah, and like I said,
the other thought that I had, Jim, is secondary to that is with a lot of these software packages now and the constant updates that are being made, it's even more difficult to keep up with the customizations that, you know what I mean? Like you take Autodesk products, for example. Every year there's a new product.
Right. And people are not necessarily forced, right? You can hold back a year or so. But generally speaking, most companies at this point are just consistently updating year after year after year because they're paying for it. They have no choice, right? They're kind of, required to pay for it or lose their license. So they're like, well, if I'm paying for it, I'm installing the new updates, right? Which is what Autodesk want, and it really drives their share prices up, which is great. But you're absolutely right. In terms of any type of customization, it's not like, in years past where you could say, well, it'll last for a couple of releases and we'll worry about it every 5 years or so. Not anymore. You're absolutely right. That's a big concern, right? And like I said, the one good thing is, like I said, if you focus entirely on configurations, those do pass year after year. Very, very rarely do they knock out, a standard configuration structure. You can just port your configurations from one release to the next. Yeah, so it's an excellent point, And like I said, I know I do a lot of the, like I said, the technical stuff and the training, and I see all the time. And that's one of the things when I'm talking with people that I still see, is that, at least on the user end, a lot of the users that I work with, on the CAD side in particular, still complain that their systems are just dropped on them. People are like, oh, the Autodesk guy told me, this version of Civil 3D or Revit has everything in the world that we need, and here's the tool. Now figure out how to use it. But without somebody to work you through and help you build and configure that to work the way that you need it to work, it's a really, really frustrating struggle. It takes a lot of people's times. Okay? And like I said, so, one of the things, beyond setting up and structuring configuration, which here's a sales pitch we do all the time for all the software we support here at Zentech. But when you're configuring your CAD systems, one of the things that you do have to really keep in mind, right, is that you need to train your staff on those configurations. Okay? A mistake that people also make all the time, I think, is they want to train on the base installation. Say, okay, people call all the time like, hey, Jim, we just installed Bluebeam or we just installed BricsCAD and we're ready to train our staff. And I'm like, have you configured it yet? Is it ready and structured? Have you put in templates and standards for use? No. We'll do that down the road. We want to get everybody trained first. And that's a mistake, right? The order that you always want to go in is configuration, then training. This way you're training people, right? And it's vital. You're training your people on your processes, not the standard, hey, this is what the software developer says we should do. You've built and structured and you have all the standards in place, and you show your people how to use what you want them to use the way you want them to use it. Okay? And, that's such a huge benefit that you can't even really put a price tag on those benefits. Well, all right, let's check that. You can't put a price tag because we put a price tag on it. We charge you money for training. So apparently there are price tags, Rocco. Who knew?
Yeah, there are.
There are always price tags. This is America, for goodness sake. We have prices for everything, right? But there is just a massive benefit to training your staff to maximize your CAD system's power through configuration before you get them into the training system, right? And so we're going to talk about the benefits of configuration and the dangers of customizing your software a little bit more in just a few minutes. First, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor. Today's CAD Call podcast is being brought to you by BricsCAD, the latest and greatest CAD software out there on the market today. It's growing by leaps and bounds, and the beauty of it is that BricsCAD allows you to use all of your current drawing files, all of the CAD commands and macros and features and Lisp routines and customizations and configurations that you've already developed, right? Without any transition. Your people can be up and running in BricsCAD in a matter of hours, right? So to help you make that transition here at Zentex, one of the things that we've done is we have actually created a Make the Move to BricsCAD program to help you move from your Autodesk-based platform over into BricsCAD with minimal time and risk and investment. And Rocco is going to tell you all about it. Rocco?
I'm going to tell you all about it. Well, there's a great deal of information that's available right on our website. It's zentechconsultants.net. You can reach out to us at sales@zentechconsultants.net or give us a call, 866-824-4459. But yeah, that's the core idea behind it, Jim. If you're an AutoCAD user and you're looking to make the move to BricsCAD, we're here to help make an easier transition for you. So check us out. Let us know how we can help you.
Perfect answer. BricsCAD, the smartest CAD system on the market today. All right, welcome back to the CAD Call podcast with Jim and Rocco. All right, so as always, Rocco, each podcast I love to get into the numbers, right? I like to get into what I call the maths. I love the maths. I love looking at why these things are important and how they really affect our customers and ourselves from a business standpoint. So one of the things I was doing a little bit of research before today's podcast, and listeners out there, you might think that customizing your software or using custom profiles and standards, right? And really that is part of the customization process. One thing I want to warn everybody about, particularly in CAD systems, is letting your people build and structure custom profiles that they use themselves, where everything is exactly where they want it to be and it's laid out where they need it, and they add in their own custom utilities that they've downloaded from the interwebs. It sounds like a great concept, right? And I promise you that your people are going to tell you that they need those custom structures. It's what makes them efficient. It makes them all kinds of money. They're so much faster and better and easier when they've customized all of this to their own, specifications, right? And here's where we get into the math, right? Because we're going to ask the number, is it really worth the cost for you to allow people to customize and build their own custom profiles and to install their own custom utilities on your CAD system. All right, so let's do the math. So number one, right, the median hourly rate for a CAD person in the U.S. Any guesses, Rocco? You know how much CAD people make in general?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe somewhere between $20 and $30 an hour.
You are pretty good, man. You know, that's why I keep you around. You're the smart one. So it's $26.71 an hour is the median income for CAD people in the U.S. Okay, so all right, so that's how much your CAD guys are making. So here's where I get into the numbers, right? So when you're dealing with any kind of a profile-related issue, right, and that's any kind of potential conflict or problem or downtime that you're going to see because people have customized their profiles and installed custom utilities that are not standard configuration items, okay? So the average downtime for one of those profile-related issues is 3 hours. If there's a problem, it's going to take them at least 3 hours to fix it. Now, here's the kicker with that. It's not just them. You're doubling that. It's actually going to be 6 hours because it's them. Plus, they usually have to bring in their CAD manager or an IT guy to fix that with them. So you're really talking about 6 hours of downtime every time there's a problem, right? And on average, profile-related issues in a CAD system happen 7 times a year. Okay, so again, doing the math, right? We're taking our 2671 times 6 hours times 7 times a year, right? That means that for custom profiles, it's $1,121.82. I like to get specific with my maths. So that's not devastating, right? By any means, it's $1,000, $1,200 a year here. Right? It's costly, but you go if they're more efficient, if they're getting things done more quickly, then okay, right? But we're not done yet. Right? The average time that it takes a CAD user to update their custom profile and their settings and reload their utilities during an upgrade is 12 hours. Right? Plus, there's usually another 2 hours dealing with the IT guy or the CAD manager to help them get that resolved. Right? So you're doing 14 hours there. Right? And again, doing the math there, that's an additional, $373.94.
And these are figures just for your average CAD user. What about the manager's time
right.
and the IT staff's time and
right, they cost a lot more than CAD folks on a general rule, right? Usually paying people with that kind of technical skill a little bit more than your standard CAD drafter. But even when you think about that, right, if you go through and just take in those base numbers, for a small 5-person CAD group, that's almost $7,500 a year that you're paying just for downtime and allowing them to use these customized sets of tools and profiles. Okay, and like I said, that does not include the additional cost of what it costs for the management level, the high-end IT guys. That doesn't include the initial setup time. How long did it take them to develop that customization? How long did it take them to find the Lisp routines and tweak them a little bit? Right, it can be like triple that cost. Okay, you're also talking about the loss of revenue. And there's the other thing that I'm really not talking about here is that okay, so we said, so it's going to cost us, like 20 hours a year or so. Well, that's 20 hours. That's a half a week's worth of non-billable time. Not only are you paying for them to sit there and play with the profiles and the customizations to make it work, right? There's also a massive loss of revenue. They're not making you money when they're doing that, right? So you can see, like I said, it's $7,500, but it could easily be 3 or 4 or even 5 times that you're paying every year just because people want to have things structured their way. And there's also, like I said, an additional issue that goes into that. I spent a lot of years earlier on in my career, doing CAD management and IT direction. And one of the biggest problems that I would always have is that people would run into issues after we did an upgrade or a change or a patch. Things would stop working. There were problems. They couldn't get anything done. And 9 times out of 10, it was because of their customizations. Some utility was causing a conflict. Something hadn't been updated. There was a new version of the ARX or the Lisp utility that had to be patched and there's a massive amount of downtime that goes along with that, right? When you're dealing with any kind of a structure and an update like that, right? So, like I said, Rocco, we were saying earlier before the break, you bring me onto a lot of calls about customizing CAD systems, and I always tell people it's a bad idea. And luckily, you've gotten used to me. It doesn't freak you out anymore. You kind of agree. I hope you agree that it's to the benefit. And I think long term, it's actually better for Zentech. Really, when we do that, we're honest and direct with our clients, and we steer them towards what's best for them, not always what's best for us. And we think long term, that's a better way to go. But like I said, we always try to steer them away from customization. We tell them it's a bad idea, though. There are folks who just absolutely insist, and we're happy to take your money if you're not going to listen to us and insist you want customized things. We'll do it. Paychecks are paychecks. We do like those. Our wives like us paying the mortgage. It's a good thing, I guess. And we always steer them towards configuration. We work very, very heavily in configuration. But from a customer standpoint, how do they respond to that? I mean, do you find that folks appreciate that stance from us here at Zentech, or do they get mad at us because we're telling them that we're not going to do what they want us to do?
I don't think they really get mad at us. I think it opens up their minds to a different approach, a different angle, and it opens up, a heavy topic for discussion within their organizations. Yeah. I've been, like you say, I've been around for a long time, and I'm.
That's because he's really old. I would point out that I'm older than you, but that's not the point. You're still old.
I'm used to seeing. I remember the days where customers used to hire a programmer, to develop these advanced Lisp routines, and there'd be plenty of times where the programmer would either take double and triple the time to get the job done, or they would just disappear. And, so they'd be left mid-project and now waiting for this project to be done, and there was just no end in sight, So I to go back to your original question, I think people appreciate the honesty. It gets them really thinking about what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that's been our stance, and that's what I've seen too on the tech side. People really do appreciate that. And like I said, we don't just discount people and say, hey, we're not going to work with you. What we do is we really steer them away from that customization and into a configuration discussion. We work all the time. It's a huge part of our business in helping people set up standards, right? Pre-build drawing templates and layer defaults, right? Plotting systems, and just configuring your software to work the way that you want as fast as it can possibly be. And that is a huge benefit, right? And that really is something that needs to be done for every CAD system, period. Doesn't matter which one you're using, or really any software that you're using. Doesn't really matter what you're doing. Any piece of software that you're installing, it needs to be configured. And it's not configured right out of the box. It has to be configured for what you guys need it to do as the end user. Okay? Like I said, in a CAD system, it's items like layer standards, pen weight settings, style creations, right? Those are not customizations. That's configuration, and that's where we steer people. They're much more usable. They're much more simple, all right, for us to put in place, a lot more cost effective for you, and they last across updates and across multiple years. A customization is when you call and you ask me if I can write you a Lisp utility or a custom macro to automate processes for you. And as we were saying, all throughout this podcast, those sound like time savers. And say, hey, you're customizing something for me that does exactly what I want the way I want it. But in the long run, all customizations cost you far more than they're worth. Okay, and I give you an example, right? We get these calls all the time, and it's painful to listen to. We get people who call in and they're like, hey, you know what? I had a CAD guy. He was our CAD guru like 10 years ago, and he was brilliant. And he wrote these 3 custom utilities that handle all of our printing, all of our plotting, all our page setups. But he left. And nobody else knows what he did or how those work. And we've been kind of stuck using the 10-year-old version of our CAD system because his customizations don't work on the newer releases. Can you update those processes for us? And that's really where I usually start the conversation going, no. I mean, yeah, we could. I'm telling you, it's a bad idea. It's time to dump those customizations. And the response is always, we can't. We've been using it for so long. Nobody knows Any other way to do it? Well, you have to, like I said, invest in a little bit of training, right? And you're going to spend the time and the money training people on not just the latest software, because obviously those folks are 10 years behind, but you want to get back to our OOTB, right? Our out-of-the-box processes. Having everybody trained, comfortable with the configured and out-of-the-box procedures, it eliminates that dependency that you have on your customizations and the dependency that you have on one or two users who can actually modify and update and control those, right? So you really do need as a company to get away from those, right? And I'm telling you, you will have your CAD managers and your IT guys and your senior CAD guys tell you, oh, that's wrong, we need these are vital. In a lot of ways, that's job security for them. If they're the only ones who know how to do a certain process, you can't let them go. Right? But from a corporate standpoint, from growing your business and making it effective, that's not really the right way to do it. Okay? Like I said, we do configuration for all of our software partners, whatever the software is. We do it for Bluebeam and BricsCAD and Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. You name it, we configure it, and we think it's vital. But customizing is a sure way for you to lose time, money, and cause you an array of headaches, right? And I think that kind of covers all of the things I wanted to say in terms of customization versus configuration versus out-of-the-box installations. Rocco, anything you want to add in there I didn't touch on?
Yeah, my head hurts with all this technical talk, Jim.
See, that's why you bring me around for the technical stuff and to give you headaches. I do that all the time. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it for today. I want to thank you for joining us on the Cattle Call podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net. Or you could even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.